The organization is no longer classifying transgender people as mentally ill. The United Nations agency made that decision Monday. It will present the change to the World Health Assembly next year and officially go into effect years later in 2022. The change is expected to improve social acceptance for folks who are transgender and make more health resources available.
Gaming addiction is a disease according to the World Health Organization. The group officially recognizing gaming disorder as a condition in its latest revision of its international classification of diseases.
It feels a little odd to categorize it as a health issue.
New at 10, being transgender no longer considered a mental illness. The World Health Organization announced this week they're reclassifying being transgender in hopes of destigmatizing it.
And this is a move that has stunned many in and out of the medical community. But others are wondering whether disorder is going a little too far. Now, some medical experts also question the wisdom of classifying gaming as an addiction, some saying that may open the floodgates and weaken the seriousness of what has been traditionally considered addiction.
So we think that including gaming disorder in ICD-11 will serve a public health purpose for countries to be better prepared to identify this issue and to be able to provide preventive and treatment methods.
And this time, exclusively playing video games has been included as a disorder now.
They're everywhere. On your TV, your computer, even on your phone. But while video games seem close to becoming our new national pastime, this morning the World Health Organization raising a red flag. For the first time adding gaming disorder to their list of addictive activities, likening it to substance abuse and gambling disorders.
This week, the World Health Organization decided they will no longer classify being transgender that way.
And I just want to share with the audience some of the abbreviations here. FPS, first-person shooter, MMO, massively multiple player online, and RPG, role-playing games. I've been reading for years that people get sucked into these to the point where they lose contact with reality, and there are serious implications for this.
Absolutely, Charles. You have to understand there's 1.8 billion people worldwide who play video games, and about 40% of them use video games as a way to escape, especially men over women. So it's definitely becoming a more prevalent issue.
Katie, I invited you on because I know you're passionate about this, and you don't believe this, do you?
I don't believe it at all. And Charles, I will say I have played MMOs my entire life. Some of my dearest, closest friends I made through those games. But my issue here is the idea that it is going to make it harder for mental health officials, for doctors, to be able to properly diagnose someone if you're creating these niche categories of addiction or disorder. If someone has depression and is using video games as a crutch, then treating them for gaming disorder is not going to help the root cause, which is depression. This is not something that is going to help people. I think it's only further going to stigmatize an industry that does not deserve this. Moderation. You need to be able to know when to put a controller down or turn the TV off or put the book down and go do something else. That does not mean that gaming disorder is a thing. And honestly, Charles, in the world we live in right now, the last thing we need is another epidemic for pharma to get its hands on and start peddling these pills to mothers who say that their kids play far too much Fortnite, the new buzzword, and then suddenly you have another epidemic on your hands. This is not correct. This isn't finalized, right. And I highly encourage WHO to reconsider whatever studies they're looking at that have not shown conclusive proof between any sort of addiction or violence or negative health consequences or anything else.
Two high school track stars who took first and second place at the Connecticut State Championships now finding themselves at the center of a controversy.
Both young women are transgender.
This is certainly sparking a lot of debate, and it's something that schools across the country are dealing with because an estimated 150,000 teens in this country identify as transgender.
Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood dominating the competition at the Girls Track and Field Championships in Connecticut earlier this month, coming in first and second place respectively. And while it was a state race, their wins are making national headlines. not because of what they did, but because of who they are. Two transgender girls.
One of the other girls who competed and her mother say the pair had an unfair advantage.
Selena Sewell competed with them and says it's an unfair advantage.
I have no problem with them being a girl and wanting to be a girl. My issue is with CAC.
The CIAC says their policy follows state law. Teens can compete for the team they gender identify with.
But there is some backlash from parents and students. 2 petitions were even started in an attempt to change the current rule of the state's governing body of interscholastic sports. The rule states that students are entitled to participate on a team based on their gender identity, how they identify.
The girls athletes are at the physical disadvantage compared to the transgender female.
Bianca Stanescu started one of those petitions after her daughter Selena lost to Andrea and Terry at a track meet in May.
They have naturally testosterone within their body that has been proven to give a physical advantage in sports.
Star defender for the North Carolina Courage professional soccer team, Jaylene Hinkle has always found her place on the field.
It's just like this identity that starts to become a part of you, and especially in college, like you're a student athlete, it always was with you.
Jaylene's love for the game started on the youth soccer fields of Denver, Colorado.
At that age, it was like, okay, I'm starting to connect the dots, and I want to see where this takes me. Like, I want to find out who God is.
But as a teenager going into high school, she was more concerned about becoming a better soccer player and making friends.
I don't think I ever hesitated or doubted my faith. Yeah, I know that I'm good and the Lord created me, but it's I want to fit in.
Jaylene had a stellar high school career, earning a full ride to Texas Tech University. There, she thrived on and off the field, and even continued going to church. But now everyone knew her only as Jaylene the soccer player. And again, she found herself caught between two worlds.
And on paper, I was doing really well, but inside, it's just I'm kind of miserable right now. I mean, there was Saturdays where you'd go out and you would hang out with your friends and you're partying, and then I'm I have church tomorrow morning, and then I'm in church and I'm what did I just do Saturday night? Just those wrestles of I want to fit in here, but I also want to fit in here, but where do I actually fit?
Then her lifelong dream came within reach. Her coach told her she had the talent to go pro, if she wanted.
I was well, yeah, I want to go to the next level. I feel I've always wanted to go to the next level. It just always seemed if that was an option, that I would want to do it.
But going into the spring season of her junior year, Jaylene began having excruciating sharp pain in her left leg. An MRI revealed she had an extensive blood clot, prompting doctors to perform exploratory surgery.
He goes, your vein is 80% closed, so you're not getting any blood flow. The fact that it's that close, we can't get our tools in there. So our next step would be in the second surgery, if it doesn't open overnight, somehow on the blood thinners that they'd already put me on, their next step was to put a stent in. And he's I'm so sorry to tell you this, but if we had to put a stent in, you can't play sports. You can't play contact sports. It's you being hit could internally cause bleeding. It would be life-threatening at that point. The one place where people were telling me identity was about to be taken away, and I was just, everything just came crashing down.
Jaylene, along with her parents, turned to God in prayer.
The first thing that my mom said to me was, we're just gonna pray. We're just gonna pray all night long. I know that you have the power either way this goes, and I'm not trying to make a deal with you, but if you allow me to play soccer, this is gonna be for you. I think at that point too, I pretty much was this internal battle with the Lord of please don't take this from me.
The morning after Jaylene's second operation, the doctor spoke with the Hinkles.
There's no reason it shouldn't have happened, but he was your vein was completely open. And he was from it to go 80% to completely open, he was I am not one to believe in God, but you have gotten a miracle. You got your miracle.
Jaylene made a full recovery and committed all in on her faith.
Yeah, it was like there's no turning back after that one. I wanted to know everything and anything about the Lord.
After a successful senior year, Jaylene was called up into nationals and began playing for the Women's Professional League. Then in 2017, she was invited to play for America in 2 international friendlies games.
When you honestly take a second and like step back and almost have like that outer body experience of just, I'm being invited to play the game I love for my country. There's an emblem of the US flag on your chest. Like, that's huge.
Then, days before the event, it was announced that the team jersey was designed to honor the LGBT community. Jaylene again turned to God.
I just felt so convicted in my spirit that it wasn't my job to wear this jersey. And I gave myself 3 days to just seek and pray and determine what He was asking of me to do in this situation.
In the face of opposition and social media backlash, Jaylene withdrew from the games with the support of her teammates.
I'm essentially giving up the one dream little girls dream about their entire life, and I'm saying no to. It was very disappointing. And I think that's where the peace trumped the disappointment, because I knew in my spirit I was doing the right thing. I knew that I was being obedient. And like, just because you're obedient doesn't make it easy.
Today, she plays for the NC Courage of the National Women's Soccer League, where she boldly proclaims her faith and identity in Christ.
I don't question His goodness. Like, I know He's good. I know He's faithful. And if I never get a national team call up again, like, that just is part of His plan, and that's okay. And maybe this was why you were meant to play soccer. Just to show other believers, like, to be obedient.